Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerers Guild. Today we are going to be starting a new playlist called The Kind. Okay, so why are we starting a new playlist? Well, as I mentioned with the last update on the channel, my mother's passing has affected not only my priorities, but is also going to have an effect on my alliances and all of my plans going forward, and many things we have discussed on this channel. And the first thing we're going to discuss about that is how the unexpected inheritance that I mentioned affects how certain things are going to go. And in this case, that effect is on the Aywa alliance. The creation of the Aywa alliance in that form is no longer necessary, but at the same time, this opens things up for an alliance which was much more how I wanted things to go and how I originally discussed the plan. So, the inheritance that I received from my mother was more Fayree in nature than it was astral. As in, we've discussed before how the Fayree exist within the veil rather than on the astral plane. So, at any rate, the inheritance I received very much facilitates this alliance. So who are the kind, or children? They are the children of Kind King Tal. Those of you who have been watching the channel long enough may recall when I attempted to channel Kind King Tal so that he could tell his story. He is one of the incarnations of Yarvo, who we've talked a bit about on the channel already. We're going to talk more about who he is in the future, but he is a Horde member. And he was, during his incarnation as Kind King Tal, he was with the Fairy Queen Marissa, originally as a tree. And if you listen to the story, we're verging on the fantastical here. And I will acknowledge that I made an episode speaking about how people making fantastical claims is a red flag. But when dealing with fairies and the Fayree, it is difficult to avoid the fantastical. They are fantastic by nature, yes? Okay, so, anyways, back to what the children, or kind, or Fayree actually, are. They are a mix of beings that were created during the saga of Sap. First with Yarvo and Marissa, and as those children grew, they intermingled with the remaining people of the city and other beings that came to flock under Kind King Tal's banner. So the children are a mixture. They are a mix of many different Fey beings, and they tended to have a childlike appearance, the same as Kind King Tal and Queen Marissa. So they were called, well, they now call themselves the children. They have been spoken of in human mythology before as the kind. It's rare, but sometimes you will hear certain Fey groups referred to as the kind. And these are the beings that we speak of. They are not uniform in appearance, but many tend to have hooves and horns or fairy wings, that sort of thing. Very classical appearance for the most part. Some will have branches coming out of their off the top of their head, or, well, they are Fayree beings of a mixed nature, yes? And it is these Fayree that compromise the Aywa that we spoke of before, almost entirely, except for those beings that had not yet been able to be accepted under that banner. And so now that I am in a position to open up that banner, that is who we will be working with from this point forward, if you choose to join the Fairy Alliance that I have been discussing. Okay, so all the same things apply pretty much. There's the law of reciprocity and the law of aesthetics. Because those are the two things that Kind King Tal, well, those are the two things that Kind King Tal actually enforced. Was the law of reciprocity, which means, well, be reciprocal. The way it is stated within the Horde is treat those who behave kindly with kindness, but to those who behave cruelly to yourself or others, you do not owe them kindness and may repay your debt if it becomes necessary. And the law of aesthetics, which is living is an art form that takes place between life and death. As an enforcement, what this means is that if your life is not beautiful, well, they have the right to try and make it so. Yes? And this is, of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So this doesn't mean that they're going to make your life how they think is beautiful. But if you see your life as ugly, they're going to want to try to change that as you begin this alliance. Now, we will begin discussing further how this alliance is created next Wednesday, but we will actually be able to be receiving mentors that will help us join the alliance and understand what we are doing. And we will also be discussing more on Yarvo. That being said, this Saturday, I will begin, I will start back up with the Sorcerer's Shadow Volume 2 playlist. We're going to jump ahead to the lessons on protecting your own blood and other things about vampiracy and blood magic. So that will be this Saturday. Until then, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.